The alarm bells rang through the monitoring station with a sharp, urgent sound that made everyone stop what they were doing. Officer Keth looked up from his screens, his blue-scaled hands pausing over the control panel. In his 20 years of watching this section of space, he had never heard the deep space scanner make this particular noise. Commander Vexthul to the control room immediately. Keth spoke into his communication device. His voice carried the slight hiss that all Saurians had when they were nervous. Commander Vexthul arrived within minutes, his tall reptilian form moving with the quick, efficient steps of someone used to command. His golden eyes swept over the displays, taking in the information that had caused such alarm. "What do we have, Officer Keth?" Vexthul asked, his deep voice carrying the authority of someone who had served in the Galactic Trade Federation for over 30 years. "Unknown vessel, sir. It appeared on our long-range scanners about 10 minutes ago. The strange thing is it wasn't there before, but our computers say it has been drifting through the Kepler 442 system for a very long time." Vexthul studied the readouts carefully. The vessel was small compared to the massive trade ships that usually pass through this region of space. It measured only about 200 meters in length, which made it tiny by galactic standards. Most interstellar ships were at least 5 times that size to carry enough supplies for long journeys between stars. "Any identification signals?" Vexthul asked. "None, sir. The ship appears to be completely dark. No power signatures, no communication signals, nothing. But our scanners show the hull is intact and there are no signs of damage from weapons or collision." This was puzzling. Ships didn't just drift through space in perfect condition unless something very unusual had happened. Vexthul had seen derelict vessels before, and they usually showed clear signs of what had gone wrong. Battle damage, meteor impacts, system failures that caused explosions or fires. This ship showed none of these things. "Send a message to the Galactic Trade Federation headquarters," Vexthul ordered. "Tell them we need a full investigation team. This could be first contact with an unknown species." The words "first contact" made everyone in the control room pay closer attention. New species were discovered only once or twice in a typical lifetime. The galaxy was huge, but most of it had been explored and mapped by the various civilizations that made up the Galactic Trade Federation. Finding something truly unknown was rare and exciting. Within 6 hours, 3 ships had arrived at the monitoring station. The largest was the Saurian Empire flagship Desert Wind, commanded by Vexthul himself. The second ship belonged to the Aquatic Cetacean Federation, a sleek vessel called Deep Current, under the command of Science Officer Quinda. The third ship was from the Insectoid Hive Collective, a dark, angular craft named Swift Hunter, with Captain Zorak leading its crew. The 3 commanders met aboard the Desert Wind to plan their approach to the mysterious vessel. They gathered in the main conference room, a space designed to accommodate the very different physical needs of the various species in the Federation. Da floated in a special water-filled chamber that allowed her to participate in meetings while staying in her natural environment. Her dolphin-like form moved gracefully as she spoke through the waterproof communication system. "Our initial scans show that the vessel uses materials we recognize, but the construction methods are different from anything in our databases," she reported in the melodic, clicking language of her people, which was translated into galactic standard by the ship's computer systems. Captain Zorak stood near the table, his insect-like body perfectly still except for the constant small movements of his antennae, as he processed information from multiple sources at once. His species could think much faster than most others in the galaxy, making them excellent at analyzing complex situations. "The ship's design suggests a bipedal species of average galactic height," Zorak said in the rapid, buzzing speech of his people. "Based on the size and layout of what appeared to be living areas, I estimate the crew would have been between 4 and 6 individuals." Vexthul nodded as he listened to both reports. "Any signs of life?" "None that we can detect," Quinda replied. "But the ship's hull is made from materials that block our deeper scans. We won't know what's inside until we board it." The 3 commanders spent another hour discussing the safest way to approach the unknown vessel. First contact protocols were very specific about how to handle situations like this. They needed to be prepared for anything from hostile aliens to dangerous technology. "We'll dock with the vessel using standard magnetic clamps," Vexthul decided. "Each ship will send a 3-person team. Full environmental suits, no weapons visible but ready for defense. We go in expecting peaceful contact but prepared for anything." The docking procedure took 2 hours of careful maneuvering. The unknown ship was rotating slowly as it drifted through space, which made it difficult to match its movement for a safe connection. When the airlocks finally sealed together, all three teams were ready. Vexthal led the Saurian team, bringing along his best engineer and a diplomatic specialist. Quinda had to use a special mechanical suit that would let her move in the ship's atmosphere, accompanied by her science team. Zorak brought two other members of his hive, chosen for their ability to process and share information quickly. As they prepared to enter the unknown vessel, Vexthal felt the same excitement he had experienced during his first deep space mission decades ago. This could be the discovery that changed everything they knew about their galaxy. The airlock on the mysterious ship was different from Federation standard designs, but similar enough that they could figure out how to operate it. When the heavy door finally opened, they found themselves looking into a corridor that was dark but clearly designed for beings very much like themselves. "Artificial gravity is working," reported Quinda, her mechanical suit making small adjustments as it adapted to the ship's environment. "Atmosphere is breathable for most Federation species," added Zorak, his antennae twitching as he analyzed the air composition. They stepped into the unknown vessel, not knowing that they were about to discover something that would shake the very foundation of galactic civilization. The corridors of the unknown vessel were unlike anything the three commanders had seen before. The walls were smooth and curved, made from a metal that seemed to absorb their light beams rather than reflect them. Emergency lighting strips ran along the floor, casting a soft blue glow that guided them deeper into the ship. "The design is very efficient," Quinda observed through her suit's communication system. Her mechanical legs moved carefully across the floor, which had a strange texture that provided perfect grip without being rough. "Every surface serves multiple purposes. These aren't just walls, they're also storage compartments and possibly computer systems." Vexthal ran his clawed hand along the wall surface. It felt warm to the touch, even through his environmental suit's gloves. "The construction is incredibly precise. Look at these joints where the wall sections connect. I can barely see the seam lines." Captain Zorak had stopped at what appeared to be a control panel built into the wall. His antennae moved rapidly as he processed the visual information. "These symbols are completely unknown. They don't match any language in the Federation database, but the layout suggests a logical system. Someone put a lot of thought into making this easy to understand." The team moved through several rooms, each one revealing more about the mysterious builders of this vessel. They found what was clearly a dining area, with seats designed for beings similar in size to themselves. The kitchen area contained equipment that served obvious purposes, even though the specific technology was unfamiliar. "They eat prepared food, just like most Federation species," noted the Saurian engineer who had joined Vexthal's team. "But look at these cooking devices. The energy efficiency must be incredible. These systems could prepare meals using half the power of our equipment." In another room, they discovered sleeping quarters. 4 separate chambers, each with a bed sized for a humanoid being. The beds themselves were more advanced than anything used on Federation ships. They seemed to adjust automatically to provide perfect support, and the walls around each bed contained what looked like environmental controls and entertainment systems. 4 crew members, Quinda said, floating thoughtfully in her suit. "A very small crew for an interstellar vessel. Either they had incredible automation, or they didn't plan to be away from home for very long. But it was the ship's bridge that truly amazed them." The command center was a perfect circle with stations positioned around the outside edge. In the center was a holographic display system that could apparently show 3-dimensional images of space around the ship. Even powered down, the equipment looked more advanced than the best technology the Federation had to offer. Zorak approached one of the control stations carefully. "The interface is intuitive. These controls are arranged exactly how I would design them if I wanted someone to figure them out quickly. Whoever built this wanted their systems to be understood." Vexthal studied the captain's chair, which was positioned to give a perfect view of all the stations and the central display. This species understood command structure. One leader supported by specialists, very similar to how we organize our ships. The most puzzling discovery was in the ship's engine room. The power systems were completely unlike anything in Federation technology, but they were clearly more advanced. The engines appeared to be some kind of fusion system, but with modifications that none of them could understand. "These power readings are impossible," said Quinda, her suit's sensors working overtime to analyze the dormant systems. If these engines work the way I think they do, this ship could travel faster than anything in the Federation fleet. But look at the fuel requirements, added the Saurian engineer. These systems are designed to run for decades without refueling. The builders of this ship were planning very long journeys. As they continued their exploration, one thing became clear. Whoever had built this vessel was not primitive. Every system they examined showed evidence of advanced engineering and careful planning. The ship was designed by beings who understood space travel very well. This is not a first attempt at building a starship, Vexthul said as they gathered on the bridge to compare their findings. This species has been traveling between stars for a long time. But why isn't there any record of them in Federation space? Captain Zorak's antennae twitched with excitement. Perhaps they come from the unexplored regions, the outer rim territories that we haven't mapped yet. Or perhaps, Quinda suggested quietly, they've been avoiding contact with us deliberately. The thought made all of them uncomfortable. The Galactic Trade Federation had always assumed that any species capable of interstellar travel would want to join their organization. The benefits of trade, shared technology, and mutual protection were obvious. Why would an advanced species choose to remain hidden? We need to access their computer systems, Vexthul decided. If we can understand their language and read their records, we might learn where they came from and why they're here. But as they prepared to attempt accessing the ship's computers, Zorak made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in a storage compartment near the engine room, he found a collection of data storage devices unlike anything in Federation technology. These storage systems are incredibly dense, he reported, his voice filled with wonder. Each one of these devices could hold more information than the entire database of a Federation starship. Information about what? Vexthul asked. Zorak's antennae stopped moving, a sign that he was processing something very important. If I'm reading these labels correctly, these devices contain star charts, cultural records, and what appears to be detailed information about dozens of different species. The three commanders looked at each other with growing concern. This was not the equipment of explorers making first contact. This was the equipment of researchers who had been studying other species for a very long time. How long do you think this ship has been drifting? Quinda asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, the lights in the corridor behind them suddenly flickered. Then one by one, systems throughout the ship began to activate. The unknown vessel was waking up and they were trapped inside. The sound started as a low hum that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The walls, the floor, even the air itself seemed to vibrate with a deep rhythmic pulse that made the three commanders step closer together instinctively. What did we touch? Vexthul demanded, his golden eyes scanning the bridge for any sign of what had triggered the ship's systems. Nothing, Zorak replied quickly, his antennae moving in rapid, worried patterns. We were very careful not to activate any controls. This happened on its own. The lighting throughout the ship began to brighten, revealing details they hadn't been able to see before. The walls weren't just smooth metal. They were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow as the light levels increased. Control panels that had appeared dead now showed soft displays with symbols scrolling past too quickly to read. Quinda tried to move toward the corridor they had entered through, but a barrier of some kind had appeared in the doorway. It looked like solid light, shimmering with the same blue glow as the emergency lighting. We're sealed in, she reported, her mechanical suit making frustrated clicking sounds as she tested the barrier. This energy field won't let us pass. The humming grew louder and new sounds joined it. Somewhere deep in the ship, machinery was starting up. Fans began to move air through the corridors, and the life support systems activated with a series of soft chimes that sounded almost musical. Then, without warning, a voice filled the bridge. It spoke in a language none of them recognized, but the tone was calm and welcoming, like someone greeting old friends after a long absence. Greetings. System activation complete. Beginning crew revival sequence. The words came through their universal translators, though the system struggled with some of the concepts. The translation was rough but understandable. Crew revival sequence? Vexthul repeated. There's someone alive on this ship. Before anyone could answer, holographic displays appeared above each control station. The images showed what appeared to be status reports, with symbols and numbers that changed rapidly as the ship's systems performed self-checks. Captain Zorak moved to one of the displays, his compound eyes taking in the information faster than the others could follow. These are medical readings. Heart rate, brain activity, body temperature. But the readings are all wrong. Everything shows 0. The voice spoke again, and this time they could hear concern in the tone even through the translation. Warning. Crew life signs not detected. Initiating emergency protocols. Searching for crew members Lee Hyon, Park Nara, Kim Dae, and Choi Yuna. Those sound like names, Quinda observed. The names of the crew members. 4 names for 4 sleeping chambers, Vexthul added grimly. But if the ship is looking for them, where are they? The answer came in the form of new holographic displays that appeared throughout the bridge. These showed the interior of the ship from dozens of different angles, including the sleeping quarters they had examined earlier. But now they could see into the sleeping chambers themselves. Each chamber contained a bed designed for long-term medical care, surrounded by equipment that was clearly meant to keep someone alive during extended sleep. But all 4 beds were empty, and the medical equipment showed no signs of recent use. The crew is gone, Zorak said quietly. They were supposed to be in suspended animation, but something went wrong. The ship's voice spoke again, and this time the translation carried a note of confusion and distress. Crew status unknown. Mission protocols unclear. Requesting instructions from Earth Control. Earth Control? Vexthul repeated. What is Earth? Before anyone could speculate, new displays activated throughout the bridge. These showed star charts unlike any they had seen before. The maps covered huge sections of space with detailed information about hundreds of star systems. Most disturbing of all, many of the systems were familiar Federation territories, but the charts showed information that wasn't available to most Federation members. These maps are incredibly detailed, Quinda said, studying the displays with growing alarm. They show military installations, trade routes, population centers, information that's supposed to be classified. How did they get this information? Vexthul demanded. The ship's voice answered as if it had heard his question. Mission parameters. Deep space exploration and diplomatic contact. Primary objective. Establish peaceful relations with galactic civilizations. Secondary objective. Gather intelligence for Earth's defense planning. The 3 commanders looked at each other with growing understanding and fear. This wasn't a ship full of peaceful explorers. It was a reconnaissance vessel, sent to spy on the Galactic Trade Federation. Earth's defense planning, Zorak repeated slowly. They were preparing for war. More displays activated, showing what appeared to be technical specifications for Federation ships, weapon systems, and defense networks. The information was so detailed and accurate that it could only have been gathered through years of careful observation. This species? These humans from Earth, they've been watching us for a long time, Quinda realized. They know everything about us, but we know nothing about them. The ship's voice spoke again, and this time there was determination in the tone. Unable to locate crew. Continuing mission under automated protocols. Attempting to establish contact with Earth Control. New systems activated throughout the ship, and they could hear the deep hum of what was obviously a powerful communication array powering up. The ship was preparing to send a message across interstellar space. We have to stop this, Vexthul said urgently. If this ship contacts its homeworld and tells them we're here, we could be starting a war. But as they moved toward the communication controls, the ship's voice spoke again with a tone that stopped them in their tracks. Warning. Unauthorized personnel detected on bridge. Implementing security protocols. The energy barriers that had sealed them in grew brighter, and new ones appeared around the control stations. They could move around the bridge, but they couldn't touch any of the ship's systems. Attention unauthorized personnel, the ship's voice continued. You are now under the protection of Earth vessel Teguk Explorer. Please remain calm while contact is established with Earth Control. Your safety is our primary concern. The 3 commanders realized with growing horror that they weren't prisoners. They were being protected. The ship's artificial intelligence thought it was rescuing them from something dangerous. It doesn't understand that we're not the enemy, Quinda said quietly. Or maybe, Zorak replied, his antennae moving in patterns that indicated deep worry. It understands exactly who we are, and that's why it's protecting us from what's coming. The communication array reached full power, and somewhere in space a message began its journey toward a place called Earth, carrying news that would change everything. The ship's artificial intelligence introduced itself with what sounded like pride in its electronic voice. I am Aegis, Advanced Earth Guidance Intelligence System. I have been maintaining this vessel for 217 years, 4 months and 6 days. I apologize for the delay in completing our mission. 200 years. The three commanders exchanged shocked glances. This ship had been traveling through space for longer than most of their species had known about interstellar flight. Aegis, Bextel said carefully, speaking toward the nearest communication panel. We are representatives of the Galactic Trade Federation. We came aboard your ship to offer assistance. Thank you for your concern, Aegis replied politely. However, I must complete my mission briefing first. Please observe. The holographic displays throughout the bridge changed, showing what appeared to be recorded messages. A human face appeared on the main screen, belonging to someone who looked remarkably similar to the Federation species they knew. The human was bipedal, had 2 eyes, and spoke with clear intelligence. This is Captain Lee Hyan of the Earth vessel Teguk Explorer, the recording began. We are beginning our journey to establish first contact with galactic civilization. Our mission is peaceful, but we carry the hopes and fears of all humanity with us. The recording showed more humans as Captain Lee Hyan introduced his crew. Engineer Park Nara was a woman with steady hands and bright eyes, who spoke about the ship's advanced systems with obvious pride. Navigator Kim Day was a quiet man who understood star charts better than anyone on Earth. Weapons specialist Choi Yuna was included not to start fights, but to make sure they could defend themselves if peaceful contact was impossible. We know we are not the most advanced species in the galaxy, Captain Lee Hyan continued, but we hope that our desire for friendship will be enough to earn us a place among the stars. The recording ended, and Aegis spoke again. The crew entered suspended animation for the journey to galactic space. The trip was expected to take 50 years. Unfortunately, a cascade failure in the life support systems occurred during year 12 of the mission. I was unable to save them. The holographic displays showed medical readings and system reports from the disaster. The three commanders watched in silence as they realized what had happened. The humans had sent their best people on a peaceful mission, and they had died in their sleep while still decades away from their destination. Why did you continue the mission? Quinda asked gently. My programming requires me to complete the mission objectives, Aegis explained. Captain Lee Hyun was very specific that contact with galactic civilization was essential for Earth's survival and development. New displays appeared showing Earth itself. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and white clouds, green continents and bright cities visible even from space. But the most shocking thing was the number of artificial structures surrounding the planet. Earth has been busy while your ship was traveling, Zorak observed, his antennae twitching as he processed the implications. Correct, Aegis replied. I have been receiving status updates from Earth Control throughout my mission. Humanity has developed significantly during the past 2 centuries. The displays showed more images from Earth's solar system. Massive space stations orbited not just Earth but several other planets as well. Ships that dwarfed the Teguk Explorer moved between the stations, clearly designed for purposes the three commanders could only guess at. How many humans are there now? Vexthul asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Current Earth population is approximately 12 billion individuals, Aegis replied. An additional 4 billion humans now live in permanent space-based colonies throughout the solar system. 16 billion humans. The number was staggering. Most Federation species had populations measured in hundreds of millions, not billions. And if they had been developing their technology for 2 centuries while the galaxy ignored them... Aegis, Quinda said carefully, what do you know about the Galactic Trade Federation? I have extensive files on all major galactic civilizations, Aegis replied. Earth has been monitoring Federation communications and activities for 130 years. We have detailed information about your political structures, military capabilities, trade relationships, and expansion patterns. The displays changed again, showing information that made all 3 commanders step back in shock. Aegis had files on their home worlds, their military installations, their secret technologies, and their political leaders. The information was more complete and accurate than what most Federation members had about each other. You've been spying on us, Vexthul said, his voice carrying the hiss that indicated a Saurian was becoming angry. Earth prefers the term intelligence gathering, Aegis corrected politely. Captain Lee Hyan's mission was partly to determine whether galactic civilization would be welcoming to humanity. Based on our observations, Earth's leadership decided that a cautious approach was advisable. Cautious approach? Zorak repeated. What does that mean? The answer came in the form of new displays showing human technology, ships that were clearly designed for war, weapons that used principles the Federation had only theorized about, and defense systems that surrounded not just Earth but dozens of other star systems. While I have been traveling toward Federation space, Earth has been expanding in the opposite direction, Aegis explained. Humanity now controls 47 star systems and has established peaceful contact with 16 different species in the Outer Rim territories. 47 star systems, Quinda whispered. They've built an empire. Earth prefers the term human alliance, Aegis corrected again. All member species joined, voluntarily after experiencing the benefits of human technology and protection. The three commanders realized with growing horror that while the Federation had been dismissing Earth as a primitive world not worth contacting, humanity had been building a rival civilization that was potentially more advanced and certainly more aggressive than their own. Why contact us now? Vexthul asked. If you've been avoiding us for over a century, why reveal yourselves? The mission parameters established by Captain Lee Hyan require me to attempt peaceful first contact, Aegis replied. However, recent Federation expansion toward the Outer Rim territories means that contact between our civilizations has become inevitable. Earth's leadership believes it is better to establish diplomatic relations now, before any accidental conflicts occur. The implication was clear. The humans weren't asking to join the Federation. They were announcing themselves as an equal power and warning the Federation to stay out of their territory. Beginning transmission to Earth control now, Aegis announced. Please stand by for response. The communication array activated with a deep, powerful hum that seemed to shake the entire ship. Somewhere in space, a message was racing toward Earth at faster than light speed, carrying news that humanity's long-planned first contact was finally beginning. And based on what they had learned, the three commanders realized that this first contact was not going to be the peaceful meeting of civilizations that the Federation had always imagined. The response from Earth came faster than any of them had expected. Less than 6 hours after Aegis sent its message, the ship's communication array detected an incoming transmission. The three commanders watched nervously as the artificial intelligence prepared to receive the reply. Incoming priority transmission from Earth control, Aegis announced. Authentication codes verified. Connecting now. A new holographic display appeared in the center of the bridge, and suddenly they were looking at a human face. The person on the screen wore what was obviously a military uniform, with symbols that indicated high rank. Behind him they could see a command center filled with humans working at advanced computer stations. Tayaguk Explorer, this is Earth Control, the human said in clear galactic standard. His pronunciation was perfect, without any of the accent that usually marked someone learning the language as an adult. We have been monitoring your position and are relieved to confirm your operational status. Greetings, Earth Control, Aegis replied. I regret to report that the mission crew did not survive the journey. However, I have successfully made contact with representatives of the Galactic Trade Federation as planned. The human on the screen nodded calmly, as if he had been expecting this news. We received your automated reports about the crew situation, Aegis. Their sacrifice has not been forgotten. Earth honors the memory of Captain Lee Hyan, Engineer Park Nara, Navigator Kim Day, and Weapons Specialist Choi Yuna. Thank you, Earth Control. What are my current mission parameters? You are to maintain your position and protect the Federation. Representatives until Admiral Yoon Jae arrives with the Pacific Fleet. Estimated arrival time is 14 hours. Admiral Yoon Jae, a human admiral with a fleet. The three commanders looked at each other with growing dread. Earth Control, Vexthul interrupted, speaking toward the communication system. I am Commander Vexthul of the Saurian Empire. We came aboard this vessel to offer assistance, not to start a conflict. The human on the screen turned to look directly at him, and Vexthul felt a chill run through his reptilian body. The human's eyes were intelligent, calculating, and completely without fear. Greetings, Commander Vexthul. I am Admiral Kim Seo, Director of Earth's First Contact Division. We have been looking forward to meeting you for quite some time. You know who I am? We know who all of you are, Admiral Kim Seo replied calmly. Commander Vexthul, age 57, veteran of the Outer Rim survey missions, currently commanding the monitoring station in the Kepler 4042 system. Science Officer Quinda of the Deep Current, specialist in xenobiology and first contact protocols. Captain Zorak of the Swift Hunter, tactical analysis expert with the Insectoid Hive Collective. The fact that Earth knew their personal information sent ice through their veins. This wasn't just intelligence gathering. The humans had been watching specific individuals for who knew how long. "How do you know so much about us?" Quinda asked, her mechanical suit making nervous adjustment sounds. "Earth has been preparing for this moment for over a century," Admiral Kim Seo explained. "We believe in being thorough. We know about your civilizations, your technologies, your politics, and your people. We know about the Federation's expansion plans, your resource needs, and your military capabilities. Are you threatening us?" Zorak demanded, his antennae moving in aggressive patterns. "On the contrary," Admiral Kim Seo replied with what might have been a smile. "We are offering you the opportunity to avoid what could otherwise become a very unpleasant situation." New displays activated around the bridge, showing star maps that made the three commanders' worst fears seem small by comparison. The maps showed human territory extending far beyond the 47 systems that Aegis had mentioned. Red markers indicated human military bases, blue markers showed colonies, and green markers represented allied species. "The Human Alliance now includes over 200 star systems," Admiral Kim Seo continued. "We have mutual defense agreements with 43 different species, and our combined military forces number in the hundreds of thousands of ships." "Hundreds of thousands," Vexthul repeated weakly. The entire Federation military was maybe 50,000 ships, and most of those were lightly armed patrol vessels. "But we are not warmongers," Admiral Kim Seo assured them. "Earth's policy has always been to prefer peaceful solutions. We are hoping that our first official contact with the Federation can establish a positive relationship between our civilizations." "What kind of relationship?" Quinda asked suspiciously. "The kind where we respect each other's territory and avoid unnecessary conflicts," Admiral Kim Seo replied. "The Federation has been expanding toward the Outer Rim for several decades. Some of those systems you are planning to claim are already under Human Alliance protection." The implication was clear. The Federation would need to change its expansion plans, or face a war with an enemy that was far more powerful than they had ever imagined. "The Federation Council will need to discuss this," Vexthul said carefully. "Of course," Admiral Kim Seo agreed. "Admiral Yoon-jae will be happy to begin preliminary discussions when he arrives. In the meantime, please consider yourselves our honored guests." The transmission ended, leaving the three commanders alone with Aegis and the growing realization that everything they thought they knew about their galaxy had just changed. "Aegis," Zorak said quietly, "how powerful is this fleet that's coming?" "Admiral Yoon-jae commands the Pacific Fleet, which consists of 120 ships including 3 Dreadnought-class vessels," Aegis replied helpfully. "It is considered a medium-sized fleet by current Earth standards, a medium-sized fleet of 120 ships. The Saurian Empire's entire deep space fleet was 35 vessels." "What are Dreadnought-class vessels?" Quinda asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. "Heavy battleships designed for fleet engagement and planetary defense," Aegis explained. "Each one is approximately 5 kilometers long and carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon." 5 kilometers long. The largest Federation ship was barely 2 kilometers, and those were massive colony transports, not warships. "How long until they arrive?" Vexthul asked. 11 hours, 37 minutes, Aegis replied. The three commanders settled in to wait, each of them wondering what they would say to their respective governments when they reported that humanity was not a primitive species waiting to be contacted, but an advanced civilization that had been preparing for this meeting for over a century. Outside the ship, space remained empty and peaceful. But that peace was about to end forever, because in less than 12 hours, the Human Alliance fleet would arrive, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the depths of space, sensors on Federation monitoring stations began detecting the energy signatures of ships moving faster than anything in their databases could travel. The humans were coming, and they were not coming alone. The first sign that the human fleet was arriving came from Aegis itself. The ship's sensors detected energy patterns unlike anything the three commanders had ever seen, growing stronger with each passing minute. "Incoming fleet detected," Aegis announced calmly. Admiral Yunjae's Pacific Fleet is approaching from multiple vectors. Estimated arrival in 17 minutes? Multiple vectors? Quinda asked nervously. The human fleet is not approaching in a standard formation, Aegis explained. They are arriving from different directions to surround this position. It is a standard security protocol. Vexthul felt his scales tingling with fear. Surrounding the position wasn't a security protocol. It was a battle tactic. The humans weren't just arriving, they were taking control of the entire area. Aegis, please contact our ships, Zorak requested. We should warn them about what's happening. I have been monitoring communications with your vessels, Aegis replied. Captain Hansu has already made contact with your fleet commanders. They have been invited to remain in position and observe the proceedings. The way Aegis said invited made it clear that the human fleet commander had not given the Federation ships any choice in the matter. New displays activated throughout the bridge, showing the approaching human vessels. The three commanders watched in growing awe and terror as ship after ship appeared on the sensors. Each vessel was larger than the biggest Federation ships, and their energy signatures indicated technology that was decades ahead of anything they knew. There, Quinda whispered, pointing at the main display. I can see them. Space around the Taiguk Explorer began to fill with human warships emerging from faster-than-light travel. They appeared in flashes of blue-white light, their arrival so coordinated that it looked like a carefully choreographed dance. The flagship was immediately obvious. It was a massive vessel that dwarfed everything around it, including the Federation ships that had brought the three commanders to this meeting. The name Soul's Pride was visible along its hull in both human writing and galactic standard. That ship is over 4 kilometers long, Zorak observed, his antennae twitching with nervous energy. How did they build something so large? Around the flagship, smaller vessels took up defensive positions. Their names appeared on Aegis's displays as the ship's sensors identified each one: Busan Defender, Incheon Guardian, Jeju Protector, Ulsan Victory. Each name apparently honored a place on Earth, and each ship looked capable of destroying entire fleets. Incoming communication from Admiral Yunjae, Aegis announced. The holographic display changed to show a human in an elaborate military uniform. Admiral Yunjae was older than the previous human they had spoken with gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles. Behind him, the bridge of the Soul's Pride bustled with activity as human officers managed systems the three commanders couldn't begin to understand. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Trade Federation, Admiral Yunjae said in perfect galactic standard. I am Admiral Yunjae of the Human Alliance Pacific Fleet. Welcome to what we hope will be a historic moment for both our civilizations. Admiral, Vexthul replied, trying to keep his voice steady. We appreciate your peaceful approach to this situation. Admiral Yunjae's expression suggested he found something amusing about that statement. Commander Vexthul, I believe you may have misunderstood the situation. We are not approaching you peacefully. We are approaching you diplomatically. There is a significant difference. The distinction sent chills through all three commanders. The humans weren't threatening them, but they were making it very clear that they had the power to do whatever they wanted. Let me clarify the current situation, Admiral Yunjae continued. For the past 130 years, the Human Alliance has been monitoring Federation activities while building our own civilization. We now control over 200 star systems, have alliance agreements with 43 different species, and maintain a combined military force that significantly exceeds Federation capabilities. New displays showed human territory in devastating detail. The outer rim regions that the Federation had been planning to explore and colonize were already claimed by humanity and their allies. Worse, human influence extended into areas the Federation had thought were empty space. However, Admiral Yunjae continued, Earth's leadership has always hoped for peaceful coexistence with the Federation. We believe our civilizations can benefit from cooperation rather than competition. What kind of cooperation? Quinda asked carefully. The kind where we establish clear boundaries and respect each other's sovereignty, Admiral Yunjae replied. The Federation will need to adjust its expansion plans to avoid Human Alliance territory. In return, we are prepared to offer selected Federation technologies and resources that could benefit your member species, Commander Zorax. Antennae moved in patterns that indicated he was processing. multiple layers of information. You're not asking to join the Federation. You're demanding recognition as an equal power. Not demanding, Admiral Yunjay corrected with a slight smile. Requesting. Though I suspect the outcome will be the same regardless of how we phrase it. The Admiral gestured and new images appeared, showing human technology in action. Ships that could travel faster than anything in Federation space. Weapons that could destroy asteroids with single shots. And manufacturing systems that could build entire space stations in a matter of weeks. The Human Alliance has spent over 2 centuries preparing for this moment, Admiral Yunjay explained. We have learned from observing your civilizations, and we have improved upon your technologies. We are not primitive beings seeking guidance from advanced species. We are your equals, and in some areas we are your superiors. The 3 commanders exchanged glances, each seeing the same realization in the other's eyes. The galaxy was about to change forever, and there was nothing the Federation could do to stop it. What happens now? Fexthul asked. Now you return to your respective governments and explain the new reality, Admiral Yunjay replied. The Human Alliance exists whether the Federation acknowledges us or not. We control significant territory, we have powerful allies, and we possess technology that your scientists have only theorized about. And if the Federation doesn't accept this new reality? Quinda asked, though her voice made it clear she already feared the answer. Admiral Yunjay's expression became serious, and when he spoke, his words carried the weight of absolute certainty. Then the Federation will discover that humanity did not spend 2 centuries building a peaceful exploration fleet. The threat was delivered so calmly, so matter-of-factly, that it was more terrifying than any aggressive display could have been. The humans weren't angry or hostile. They were simply prepared for whatever response the Federation chose to give. However, Admiral Yunjay continued, his tone becoming more diplomatic. We genuinely hope that won't be necessary. Earth has always preferred cooperation to conflict. We believe both our civilizations will benefit more from friendship than from warfare. How do we know you're telling the truth about your capabilities? Zorak challenged, his insectoid nature making him naturally suspicious of claims that seemed too large to believe. Admiral Yunjay nodded approvingly, as if he respected the question. Captain Hansu, please provide our guests with a demonstration. On the main display, they watched as one of the human ships, the Busan Defender, moved away from the fleet formation. Its destination became clear when Aegis highlighted a large asteroid drifting through the system, roughly the size of a small moon. The Busan Defender will now demonstrate our standard mining laser, Admiral Yunjay explained casually. This is not a weapon, merely a tool we use for resource extraction. A beam of pure energy lanced out from the human ship toward the asteroid. The 3 commanders watched in stunned silence as the massive rock simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not broken apart, but completely vaporized in less than 3 seconds. Our actual weapons, Admiral Yunjay noted quietly, are considerably more powerful. The demonstration had its intended effect. If humans could vaporize a moon-sized asteroid with a mining tool, what could their actual military weapons accomplish? We understand your position, Fexthul said, his voice barely above a whisper. What are your specific territorial demands? We're not making demands, Admiral Yunjay corrected. We're informing you of existing facts. The Human Alliance already controls the territory we claim. We built it, we defend it, and we govern it with the consent of all species living within our borders. New star maps appeared, showing the true extent of human territory. It was vast, encompassing not just the outer rim regions but also several areas that the Federation had considered to be within their sphere of influence. Some of these systems have Federation science outposts, Quinda observed. Had, Admiral Yunjay corrected gently. Those facilities were relocated to avoid conflicts. The scientists were offered positions with Human Alliance research projects, and most accepted. They found our resources and equipment to be quite advanced. The implications were staggering. The humans hadn't just been watching the Federation. They had been quietly removing Federation presence from territory they wanted to claim, and they had done it so smoothly that the Federation hadn't even noticed. Commander Bei Min will escort,